Alright, YouTube. I'm not going to show my face on this one, but so we're at a time in our history right now where, our Second Amendment is trying to be ripped out from under us. And right now on YouTube, there's the COPPA thing going on, which is trying to stop our First Amendment right. We can't speak, okay? What I'm going to say, there are children out there that maybe shouldn't hear this, and I'll be the first to admit it. But there are young men out there that need to hear this. We're in a time of history right now, and I was thinking about this last night, trying to go to sleep, till I forced myself to go to sleep. All right, in 3 days, they're going to be voting in Virginia, one of the 13 original colonies that built this country, that showed the world that we would not bend a knee to tyrants, would not bend a knee, and that we have certain, they call them inalienable rights. I call them human rights. This is not just about the Constitution anymore. This is about people, the globalists, trying to take our rights away from us so they can use us and live the life that they know all of us are meant to be living. And if you look at history, time and time again, there's always been people willing to die, to not have to bend a knee and be the people we're meant to be. All right? This is serious times that we are upon us. All right? It's not something that anyone ever wishes to see. No one wants to have to go through this kind of stuff. No one wants to have to put their family through this stuff. But we are at a point in our history that if we don't do anything, then history will be lost. And there will be no history for future generations to see the brave men and women that were willing to sacrifice their lives. Sacrifice their lives. So that if this time falls upon us again, then they can look back, 100 years or 200 years and see that their grandfathers and grandmothers and their fathers, all right, were brave enough to stand up and make history once more so we don't lose our history. Because if you control the past, you control the future. And if you control the future, you can control the present. And if you don't know what that means, just sit and think about it for a little bit, and hopefully it'll come to you. But we are at this point in our life. All right? Now, this legislation day is happening on Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Now, there are other men out there that did amazing things, just like Martin Luther King. But at some point, it is believed that Martin Luther King gave into the government and died for it. And there was a purpose behind that, a greater purpose from the globalists. But that was one man willing to stand up in front of the world and show the world the wrong that was happening, because he wanted everyone to be equal. And equal is not even about it. He wanted everyone to be able to live the lives that we are meant to be living. And we're being controlled now, people. Controlled. All right? All these people that are big-time gun activists and all these people that are preparing for the end of the world and stuff like that, that is fear porn. Okay? Now, I'm not saying don't be prepared. I'm not saying don't follow the issues and watch what's going on in this world. But at some point, you have to stop watching and you have to start acting. You have to. All right? Now, with that said, no one has stopped to consider that this globalist bullshit has been happening for so long. I mean, so long. No one stopped to consider how it is starting to affect the people that run our country. Not the globalists, but the individual men and women that run our country. You know, some of them are in on it. But has anyone stopped to consider that there are normal, everyday people like you and me that went in there to make a change? But they got put down on their knees and had a gun put to their head and said that if you don't follow the rules, you will die here and now. Have you ever stopped to consider that not everyone in the government is truly against us? And that they are being forced. Their hands are being played for them, which is why they are called puppets. And they actually work for the globalists and not the people. Has anyone stopped to think that the reason that this lobby day happens on Martin Luther King Day, which was the man that stood up like I talked about previously, because they're taunting us, and not even taunting us, but begging us, okay, begging us to march on Virginia and stop this, and they are willing to lose their life for it. Has anyone stopped to think about that? That maybe these people are more about us than the globalists, because even they're tired of the globalists, because it's even starting to affect them and their families and their loved ones, because they still have families and they still have loved ones. All right? Virginia is an hour, or Richmond, Virginia is an hour and 42 minutes, less than 2 hours away from Washington, D.C. Has anyone stopped to think that maybe, just maybe, the reason that they've chosen Richmond, Virginia for this is not just because it's one of the 13 original colonies, but because it's so close to Richmond, or to Washington, D.C., that if we go in there and we stop what's happening in Richmond, Virginia, we can get in our vehicles and we can get to Washington, D.C. while they're still trying to set up a perimeter defense system around the State House and the White House. Has anybody stopped to think that maybe they are trying to push us to come and take our country back by force? Because we are smart people. Our numbers outweigh substantially more than the people that we had on this planet. Or, sorry, we'll not even go planet. We'll say in this country during the Civil War and definitely during the Revolutionary War. And even in the Revolutionary War, England outweighed us, what, like 10-1 or something like that? And we still won. Because we thought different. We used our brain. We used our land to our advantage. How do you know that these people in Washington are not as in much pain as the men and women in this country? Now, I'm not saying all of them, but how do you know that they're not? We live in a time of great advances in technology, but we flaunt that. Okay? And all of these preppers, which I thank you for telling people to store food and prepare themselves and just think about this. But the fear porn, okay? Those are all real possibilities that could happen. But we are at a point right now where if we all work together as humans, not even as Americans, as humans, we can take this country back, and it won't be this crazy ass apocalypse that everyone thinks it is. It could turn into that, but that is not 100% guaranteed, because there is nothing in life that is 100% guaranteed. If every man and woman that was outside of working with power stations, water stations, and farming, agriculture, and grocery stores, those four right there, could keep us running long enough while we marched to Virginia, handled business in Virginia, and then proceeded to march on Washington, D.C. and take this country back. It could be done. It could be done. We can do this. It does not have to be this cataclysmic event that all of these people are, for some reason, believe that it just is going to be. When it happens, it will send us back to the fucking Stone Age. That is bullshit. That is what the globalists have taught you. That is what they have implanted in your mind. Mind control. Control the past. Control the future. And if you can control the future, you can control the present, people. We can do this. It's like yesterday. I got told I was shaming a man because he's a big gun guy. He talks about all this stuff in Virginia and blah, 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 blah. But his loss of potential thousands of dollars is more important than the fight for our lives. If we don't make a stand sometime soon, they will have controlled the present, which means that there will not be a past. Okay? This could all happen. We could do this. Everything work out fine. We take our country back. They figure out a way to do it. But then 100 or 200 years down the road, like I said earlier, if there is no history that proves that these brave men and women did everything that they could to ensure that we had that future, then they will have controlled the past once again. And the whole cycle runs again. And then we don't instill the virtues in these future generations to come that is scary. But it's necessary, and no one wants to have to do this. But at some point, something has to be done. We cannot just sit by idly, caring more about money and potential lost funds because you've been planning for something for so many years now that's more important than our God-given freedoms, our human rights. The Constitution just puts it down on paper. That's it. Has anyone even stopped to believe that maybe the reason why our allies and some countries that aren't our allies, they absolutely hate this country? Has anybody stopped to think that maybe just maybe, we are one of the only countries that still have some of these human rights that they don't. And the globalists are winning this fight. They are winning this by controlling us. We can stand strong. We can do this. It's not that they hate the people in the country, but they're tired of seeing us flaunt this, and they're watching it being taken away. And these people, they want the globalists gone just as much as we do, because the globalists are not only controlling our country, they are controlling the world. That's why they're called globalists. We have to make a stand. We are the last of the humans that have the right and own firearms to be able to do this. We can do this if we work together and we love one another and not love the all-seeing eye that's on the back of that dollar, the globalists that control that dollar. We can do this. I am saying do not bring your children at all. And if you have children and you're a man and you're strong in your convictions about what this country and what this world should be, leave your children with your wife. All right? And all the men that are doing the real things that keep this whole society going, because they are our backbone. They are like the hilt of the sword, and we are the tip of the sword. Men are going to have to stay back to protect the women and children, and they're going to have to keep the water flowing, and they're going to have to keep the power plants going, so we don't fall into this cataclysmic apocalypse that everyone talks about. Because we are smart enough to be able to run this without the globalists. We have to send them running scared. We have to show them what's going on. Because no one thinks outside the box, because we're all controlled so much. I mean, even like the communist countries, they may be in on this stuff, but even they hate our country. And people believe, or been taught to believe, it's because of our beliefs. No, it all boils back down to the globalists even trying to tell communists what to do. And there are children that don't even have the same kinds of weaponry, sorry folks, that we have. And they're fighting back against this. And we have the technology and the tools at our disposal to do this. We have to be strong. We have to stand together. But we need the backbone, the people, the brave men and women that go and run these power plants every day, that keep the water on. You know, the men and women that are feeding the country and parts of the world. They are the backbone of this planet. These globalist elitists need to be stopped. 3 days, Richmond. I want to be there. I can't find a single way. Have no money. Don't really know anybody because I can't seem to talk to anybody to be able to get there. I talk to people, and I've told people, but no one's even stopped to offer me a ride there because I want to stand with the people. Despite some of the things that I've had in my life and hardships that I've had, which we've all had. But the time is now. Think just slightly different. Maybe, just maybe, Virginia is the stepping stone to Washington. And we can end this in one day and take our lives back. We don't have to lose anything that we have. We can retake control of the military. There are good, hard-working men and women that are retired veterans that could step into that role. They already have the knowledge and the will built into them just from going into the military, let alone going through all of the military training. People, the time is nay. The time is nay. How about that? Use some big boy words like the government does. The time is nay. It is upon us. It's time that we stop believing the fear porn. It's time that we stop believing that 100% of our government is against us. They are people just like us. They bleed the same color. They have the same organs on the inside. All right? We need to do this. I've got family in this world. You've got family in this world. It puts us all at risk. All at risk. I understand that. But we can do this in one day. One day, if we go to Virginia as a group and we keep our backbone strong in this country, keep the lights on, keep the water running, keep the food going. Because we don't need any more houses right now. We don't need any more cars right now. There are enough cars on this planet that the mechanics could take a few days off. There are enough homes built that the construction workers could take off. However you want to look at it, we can do this. And we can take this country back in one fell swoop. If we put our minds together and we do this and we stop fighting amongst ourselves. Stop fighting amongst ourselves. There are people that are fighting against each other instead of standing arm in arm like brothers and sisters. The time is here. It's 3 days from now. So I ask you, are you ready for the change? Are you ready to take your lives back? And just know, I am here for you, 100%.